Today's readings from Mark 7, verses 13 to 23. 14 to 23. When he had called all the multitudes to him, he said to them, "Hear me, everyone, and understand. There is nothing that enters a man from outside which can defile him, but the things which come out of him, those are the things that defile a man. If anyone has ears to hear, let him hear." When he had entered a house away from the crowd, his disciples asked him concerning the parable. So he said to them, "Are you thus without understanding also? Do you not perceive that whatever enters a man from outside cannot defile him? Because it does not enter his heart, but his stomach, and is eliminated, thus purifying all foods." And he said, "What comes out of a man that defiles a man? For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts, adultery, fornication, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lewdness, and evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile a man."
Good morning. Picture, if you will, you have a dental problem. Hey, you know where this is going, do you? You arrive for your appointment with me at the office. You're expecting to see a dental professional. Now picture the horror on your face when you see Noel walk in to treat you for the dental problem. Many of you arrived to hear Noel. I can look by the empty seats, the word got out. The senior, well-versed, regular minister to present another excellent lesson. But to the same relative level of horror, you have to tolerate me. Noel has this Sunday off, including his voice, apparently, after directing Camp Home with Devon. This morning's sermon is actually a hybrid. It will come in two parts, with a song and a reading partway through. The sermon is intended to direct us to the table, and so the table talk is part of the sermon. Preaching and teaching at church has all kinds of challenges. If there are 100 people here, then you have to picture 100 different journeys intersecting here at this place right now. Each person is at a different point in their journey, and nobody's journey has been or will be the same. We do, however, have the same destination in mind. We are all here with different talents and expectations in life. We are all here with constantly changing emotional, mental, and physical factors which alters our feelings towards God and others around us. My challenge is to say something that will help everyone just a little bit on their journey. One physical common factor of us living beings is that we each have a blood-pumping heart. The heart is about fist-sized organ that circulates blood throughout your body. I know for a fact that everyone here presently has a working heart, even though I cannot see them or know how healthy they are. When our heart stops working, then we will cease to physically live anymore. The heart has been the epicenter of life from time immemorial. The ancient Egyptians believed the heart was the center of life and morality. Egyptian mythology states that after death, your heart is taken to the hall of Maat, M-A-A-T, the goddess of justice. There your heart is weighed against the feather of Maat. If your heart is lighter than the feather, then you join Osiris in the afterlife. If you fail the tests on the scales, then the demon Amut eats your heart and your soul vanishes from existence. Just like our blood-pumping heart is important to our physical bodies, refer to the epicenter of our emotional or spiritual beings as the heart. This long-standing idea has spawned many, many heart metaphors. Speaking from the heart of gold. kind of broken heart. Call some people having no heart. And we say that we can keep people or things in our hearts. The list goes on. We all understand that our physical hearts will only last a few years and our physical bodies will cease to function. We can, with proper maintenance and care, give our bodies some extension to life, but eventually it will cease to function. It is temporal. Our spiritual hearts and souls are eternal, and for that reason we need to pay the utmost attention to that part of ourselves. So back to my first thought. No matter where we are on our journey in life, we are all at different points, but our spiritual heart should be the number one concern in everyone's life. What is the condition of your spiritual heart? God sees our heart. No human being can see our heart as clearly as God does. We all stand or fall by what God sees in our heart. I believe God has made allowances for each of our outward shortcomings and failures based on what he sees on our heart. Call it judgment if you wish, but I think we each have different expectations in life based on our individual talents and challenges encountered in life. The bottom line is that your life in eternity is dependent on the condition of your spiritual heart while living in a physical world. Rich or poor, healthy or unhealthy, oppressed or free, handicapped or whole, we all have the choice to have a good spiritual heart or not. The heart, both physical and spiritual, is mentioned 725 times in the New International Version of the Bible. The spiritual heart is mentioned by Moses as early as Genesis chapter 6 in the story of Noah. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil at all time. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. Right out of the gate, humankind had heart trouble, and the Lord's heart was made sick by what he saw in human hearts. Now, even though it doesn't specifically state that Noah's spiritual heart was good, it certainly is implied when it says, Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. If it wasn't for Noah's heart, which found favor with God in the story, all humans would have died in the flood. Noah's heart changed history dramatically. Was Noah perfect? Probably not. But his heart was right with God, and that made all the difference. We studied Exodus recently. It's a difficult story to understand, but the common thread in Pharaoh's downfall was his heart. After several of the plagues, he changed his heart towards God, but after rethinking his decision, he changed his mind and hardened his heart toward God. He himself wanted to be regarded as God. He would not accept the power and deity of the Lord in his heart, but hardened his heart in the face of the display of God's power in the 10 plagues. We all know about David's heart. In Acts 13, the Apostle Paul said regarding David, after removing King Saul, the Lord made David their king. God testified concerning him, I have found David, son of Jesse, a man after my own heart. He will do everything I want him to do. We learn much of David's character in the book of Psalms as he opened up his life for all to examine. David's life was a portrait of success and failure. And the biblical record highlights the fact that David was far from perfect. After all, he had Uriah murdered so that he could take Bathsheba for his wife. But what made David a cut above the rest was his heart was right with the Lord. He had a deep desire to follow God's will and to do everything God wanted to do. He was a man after God's own heart. We may not face the same kind of giant that David did or be called by God to rule a nation, but we can choose each day to seek God's heart. David's son Solomon, unfortunately, had a different story. He had everything on earth, everything a person on earth could ever dream about. He was the richest and the wisest man that ever lived. He is the standard of wealth and human wisdom even today. He had God's full support as he built the temple and ruled Israel for 40 years in power. Today, people are always making excuses about life getting in the way of dedication to God. We tend to rationalize if we had it good like Solomon, if we had more wisdom, or if we had more money to help the needy, then it would be easy to be in a right relationship with God. But you know what? Wisdom and wealth won't make it easier to be a person with a heart seeking God. We know the end of the story with Solomon. 1 Kings 11, it says, King Solomon, however, loved many foreign women besides Pharaoh's daughter, Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, and Hittites. They were from nations about which the Lord had told the Israelites, "You must not intermarry with them, because they will surely turn your heart after their gods." Nevertheless, Solomon held fast to them in love. He had 700 wives of royal birth and 300 concubines, and his wives led him astray. As Solomon grew old, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God, as the heart of David his father had been. He followed Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Molech, the detestable god of the Ammonites. So Solomon did evil in the eyes of the Lord. He did not follow the Lord completely, as David his father had done. It is up to the Lord where Solomon's eternal destiny is, and we are not told. But it seems like Solomon's eternal life story has a very tragic ending. Solomon's name is noticeably missing from the great people of faith in Hebrews 11. Many people strive after getting things or education or money, all the while telling themselves that this would make it easier to live a generous, helpful Christian life. To me, Solomon's life is proof that being smart and having big bucks does not solve the real issues of life or make it easier to have a heart that seeks the Lord. And on top of that, he had direct communication with God. He talked with God that you would think would cement his heart to God. Hard to imagine how he screwed it all up. The heart really matters. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Keep the heart in mind while we talk about sin for a little bit. Braden read to us from Mark 7:14 to 23. When Jesus was going about his ministry, the Pharisees and teachers of the law were looking for things to accuse Jesus of. On one occasion, they saw the disciples eating without observing the ceremonial cleaning laws. The laws had been there since Moses and were intended as a reminder to the people that they were spiritually unclean and couldn't enter the presence of God without the ritual cleaning. Jesus agreed about the uncleanliness part, making us unfit for the presence of God. However, Jesus disagreed with the leaders about the source of the uncleanliness. Jesus called the crowd to him and said, "Listen to me, everyone, and understand this. Nothing outside a person can make them unclean by going into them. Rather, it is what comes out of a person that makes them unclean." The present world we live in generally doesn't believe in judgment or sin, yet many people feel there is something wrong with themselves. People have a deep sense that they have to hide their true self. Many feel unworthy, unlovable, and valuable. People don't believe in sin or judgment or guilt, and yet they feel unclean and unworthy. This is most noticeable in the skyrocketing mental health issues, drug and alcohol abuse, broken relationships, and abundant despair. Some try to get power or wealth or things to counter these feelings, but ultimately sin gives people a burden of uncleanliness that cannot be shaken. Jesus tells us that whether you eat clean or unclean food, it goes into the mouth, through the stomach, and out to the sewers. It doesn't affect the heart. Nothing outside makes us unclean. Nothing from the outside makes us unclean. What comes out of the person is what makes them unclean. For from within, out of people's hearts, comes evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, lewdness, envy, slander, arrogance, and folly. All these evils come from inside and make a person unclean. Jesus is telling us that what comes from the hearts of people is what's wrong with the world. It's sin coming from self-centered hearts that make the problem the world. He is also telling us we must go to any length to rid ourselves of sin. Some try to address the unclean heart through external measures. One of these ways is to look religious. Thought is, if I act religious, then I will be good. If I stay away from evil activities and bad people, pray and read my Bible, then God will come in and clean up my heart. Sadly, you can look good on the outside, but not have the love and joy of God in your heart. Take the story of the guy we call the rich young ruler. As Jesus started on his way, a man ran up to him and fell on his knees before him. "Good teacher," he asked, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" "Why do you call me good?" Jesus answered. "No one is good except God alone. You know the commandments. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony. You shall not defraud. Honor your father and mother." "Teacher," he declared, "all these I have kept since I was a boy." Jesus looked at him and loved him. "One thing you lack," he said. "Go sell everything you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me." At this, the man's face fell. He went away sad because he had great wealth. The first thing that jumps out at me on this story is in verse 21, where it says that Jesus looked at him and loved him. Our God is a God of love. His first reaction is always love, even when people have a bad heart. The second thing that jumps out is that if what he says is true, the young man appeared to everybody like a great religious person. He had kept all the commandments since he was a boy. He would be at the very top of the Jewish class. Not many people could say that they had kept all the commandments, but despite that, he understood Jesus to say that his heart was not right with God. He knew that even though he followed the law perfectly, that his life was lacking something important, or else he wouldn't have asked the question about eternal life. His wealth was too important to him, and he left sad when he realized that Jesus was able to see his true heart and point out to him, and that he himself knew that it was true. When you approach the problem of sin trying to act or look religious, then you're likely insecure. When something goes wrong in your life, you are thrown into doubt. You might say, "I was living a good life. Why did God let this happen to me?" This acting religious approach doesn't change the heart. It's an outside-in approach. Just as eating unclean food does not make you unclean, acting religious does not make you clean. Our greatest challenge on earth is to realistic look at our hearts and take steps necessary to make our hearts right with God. We'll go to the song then.